Welcome to the Magic of Math, where today we're going to answer a standardized math test question where we demonstrate how to interpret a graph. Here's our question. This question has 4 parts. This graph models the linear relationship between the distance a car traveled and time. In part A, we're asked, what does the point 6, 300 represent in this situation? I'll ask you to pause now, come back and hit play when you're ready. Welcome back. So again, we're talking about the distance our car traveled, which is the title of our graph. And we're looking at this ordered pair, which again is on our graph. And we're asked to talk about what it is and how it represents this real world situation. So first we need to understand that this represents an ordered pair x, y, where when we plot it, we go to the right on the x-axis, then up the y-axis to plot the point. So when we go to interpret this, we're going to add some numbers and words from our graph. So we go to our point, the first thing we're going to do is look at our x. So we go down to our x, and it's 6 time is hours. So 6 hours. We're going to put that in here. So that x coordinate is 6 hours. Go back up to our point and over to the y-axis, which is 300 miles. So what this tells me is this ordered pair is saying 6 hours in 300 miles, which is the distance the car traveled in 6 hours. So that's our answer to part A. The car traveled 300 miles in 6 hours. Now let's look at part B. Based on the graph, what was the average speed of the car? And be able to show or explain how you got your answer. I'll ask you to pause now and come back when you're done. Welcome back. So based on our graph, what was the average speed of the car? Well, we know that we're looking for that average speed of car, which is a unit rate. So we want to know blank miles per hour. And we can see that this real world situation starts at the origin, which makes it a proportional relationship, meaning any point on the line in simplest form will give us the unit rate or miles per hour. So we could go to 1 and up to the line and go over, and we can see that that is 50. But let's show another way to do it. So when we look at this proportional relationship, we're given this one ordered pair. And if we write that in miles per hour, right here, that's 300 miles in 6 hours. If we divide 300 by 6, we get 50. Or 50 over 1, which means 50 miles in 1 hour, which is our unit rate. So we can say that the average speed of the car was 50 miles per hour. Here's part C. A second car traveled a distance of 209 miles in 5 hours and 6 minutes. You're asked to estimate the average speed of the second car and be able to show or explain how you got your answer. I'll ask you to pause now and come back and hit play when you're ready. Welcome back. So let's look at what we're finding here. We have 209 miles, and we're going to talk about how far we go in 5 hours and 6 minutes. So we're estimating the average speed, and this is the second car. So in the previous part, it was the first car. So now let's look at this. We're going to average this. We're saying an estimate, and we're going to average it, which means we're going to divide. So we have 209 miles, which an estimate of that would be closest to 200. And our 5 hours and 6 minutes is closest to 5 hours. If I divide and write this in simplest form, 200 divided by 5 is 40 miles per hour. So I know that my second car was traveling at a rate of 40 miles per hour. And that's an estimate. Here's part D. A third car traveled at an average speed of 61 miles per hour for 8 hours and 28 minutes. We're asked to estimate the total distance that the third car traveled and be able to show or explain how you got your answer. I'll ask you to pause now and come back when you're ready. Welcome back. So this is the third car we're talking about. So in part A and B, we talked about the first car, part C, the second car, and this is a totally different car than those other parts. And it was traveling at an average speed of 61 miles per hour. And it traveled at that speed for 8 hours and 28 minutes. So just about 8.5 hours, because there's 60 minutes in an hour, so 28 is almost half an hour. And we're going to estimate this. So here's a tape diagram. This is just one way to visualize it. There are other ways to do this problem. So if each cell in the table represents an hour, and then our last hour is going to just be a half of an hour. So our last part of our tape diagram. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 hours plus a half an hour to estimate. And each time we're going to start with 1 hour is 60 miles. We're going to estimate. So we're going to use 60 because that's the closest to 61. And we're going to repeatedly add 60 to the previous number to find out what our average, estimate our total distance that this third car traveled. Remembering that that last box is just half an hour. So we're going to do 8 60s and a 30. So 60 plus 60 is 120, plus 60 is 180, plus 60 is 240, plus 60 is 300, plus 60 is 360, 360 plus 60 is 420, 420 plus 60 is 480, and 480 plus that last 30 minutes is 510 miles. So another way to look at this is we know that we're going to do 8 hours for 60 miles. So 8 times 60 is 480. And then we're going to do an additional 30. And that's 510 miles. So we know that the third car traveled an estimate of 510 miles.